I'm Eric Wolf, and my experience in business peer groups has changed my life, especially my membership in Vistage, one of the world's largest CEO advisory groups. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a Vistage speaker on the power of marketing. This podcast is dedicated to the people who make those experiences possible, the peer group chairs. Every episode, I interview a Vistage Chair who has dedicated their time to helping entrepreneurs like me succeed. Welcome to Chair Waves. With me today is my new friend Howard Alt, a Vistage Chair from Teaneck, New Jersey. He has a CE group and a Key group, I believe. And welcome to the show, Mr. Alt.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, obviously, one of the things I like to talk about with chairs is the fact that, unlike other things that you can do for a living, Vistage chairs typically have at least, sometimes two or three, but at least one career before they became Vistage chairs. What were you doing in your first career? I know that you've got. I know that you went to an engineering school, or a technology school.
Yeah,
That's a long way from being a group facilitator. What was your story?
well, my first business was cutting lawns and snow blowing in high school, doing about 10 lawns a week, and being in Buffalo, New York, it certainly snowed a lot, so there was a lot of money to be made. But of course, I live in Teaneck, New Jersey now, as you mentioned. I went to Rochester Institute of Technology and got a bachelor's degree in advertising photography. Kodak was big at the time and pumped a lot of money into the school. It was one of the best schools in the country for photography. And, of course, where's the best place to go if you want to be in advertising photography? New York City. So
That's right.
went to New York City, worked for some top photographers as an assistant, making, $1 an hour, if that. And after about a year, opened up my own studio and did that for 5 years.
Okay, very cool. What made you, and where did you manage to live in New York City when you were making $1 an hour?
In a very, very tiny closet apartment.
Isn't that the story? So you ran a photography studio for 5 years and sounds like sort of a natural entrepreneur.
Always.
What was next for you? And actually, I'm curious. What made you give up on the photography business?
Well, there were two things. One, I realized over time that I'm really not part of the creative process, and I'm really just a mechanic to get the image that they've pre-created on film. And two, there were a lot of guys just like me coming out of colleges every year with the cost entry not being too high. So I could already see prices starting to go down and it becoming, way too challenging to have a supply and demand where there's too many photographers and not enough ads for all of us.
Sure.
So that's why I chose another career.
I can relate to that, by the way. I ran a marketing agency for 18 years, and there were always that handful of clients that, probably more than a handful, but they weren't interested in your creative input or your strategic input. You'd sort of just be their mouse. And, oh no, put that over here now, and change this thread, and that can wear on a certain type of person. I think there are folks that do really well in that environment, but I think that the folks who also have a natural entrepreneurial thing, maybe not so much. So where did you go from there?
Well, fortunately for me, we had a family business manufacturing plastic bags and film. It was in New Brunswick, New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
my father-in-law's, and he had no kids in the business. So it was a natural transition for me to then join the plastics industry and learn and grow and be an entrepreneur that way.
What wasn't that the advice that Dustin Hoffman got in The Graduate? Go into plastics.
Plastics, my boy, plastics, and
Plastics.
my wife's name is Elaine as well. So
Very good. Very good. So now you're in the plastics business.
I'm in the plastics business. After 8 years, we sold the company, and I got a 5-year contract out of the deal with a major player who wasn't a major player at the time, but he was buying up a lot of plastic companies, and I've watched him go from 50 million to a billion.
Wow.
And I got very close with him, and I found an opportunity for the two of us in the paper tube manufacturing business. And lo and behold, we were 50-50 partners. I did all the work, and he gets half the money. And he put up half the money. So it worked out fine with me. It was also our biggest customer because
Okay.
the paper tubes were mainly for the plastics industry. So that was a nice symbiotic relationship.
So like shipping tubes or for cellophane.
I know this is on radio, but uh, these things are you can run a Mack truck over these things
That
and
is enormous.
they'd be fine.
Yeah, the thing for folks who are listening to this and are just hearing the audio, I mean, basically, it was like 3/4 of an inch thick, like a tube the size of, if I put both of my hands together and make a circle, so an enormous paper tube.
Yes, and for huge plastic rolls like the size
Gotcha,
of desks.
gotcha. See, I was underselling it. I was thinking like, oh yeah, for like wrapping paper or something. No, no, very cool. So after all of this, what was the road that ultimately led you to Vistage, and how did you decide I want to be a Vistage chair? And what was your journey from there to here?
Yeah, that's a great question. One day I got an envelope in the mail at my office, and it looked like a wedding invitation. So it really stood out from everything else. And I gotta open this. This is really unusual and interesting. And it was an invitation to come to a Vistage event, either a breakfast or a lunch, to learn more about Vistage peer groups. Of course, back in the day, it was
Right.
TEC, and that's what got me. I even called
Okay.
Vistage. I said, I don't really understand what you guys are about, and come to the event, and you'll meet some really cool people. And yeah, I by the time that event was over, I was a member.
How long were you a member for?
I was a member for 8 years. Bob Duncan was my chair. He's won almost every award Vistage has as a chair. I also love the fact, being a religious person, that he's a Catholic deacon as well. So we really hit it off right away.
Very cool.
And I doubled the size of my company, increased profitability substantially, and then sold it to a company called Sonoco, Sonoco, not the oil company.
Not the gas
They're,
station.
yeah, they're the largest paper tube company in the world. They do about
Okay.
3 billion a year.
So you sold to big paper.
Yeah,
Sold
not
out to
big,
big paper.
not to big pharma, to big paper.
I like it. So then you've exited your business. What made you decide to become a chair? And when did that happen?
Well, I've been a chair for 18 years. So um, I was sitting down with Bob Duncan, my chair, as the sale was 90% coming to completion. And so my chair says to me, as a good chair or a great chair would, well, what are you going to do next?
Right.
And I'm like, Bob, I really don't know. And he said, why don't you become a chair? And I said, I can't become a chair. And he says, why not? I said, I'm not you. He goes, no, you're you, and you'll be a really good chair. And the more I thought about it, the more I said, I love the Vistage process. I love the challenge of the issue processing. I love being in front of speakers, amazing speakers, getting all kinds of knowledge. And also, the one-to-ones, everything was it just all works. And I said that I would love to do what Bob does.
How cool. What was the process like for making that jump?
Process sucked. It's one of the hardest things I ever did. It's definitely in the top
You're
10.
and by the way, I'm sure you know this, and other people tell you this, but that is a very, very that whole man that sucked. That's a very common feeling among Vistage chairs, and I've interviewed more than 60, I think, at this point on this podcast, and the process, and many say that the process of building the first group after you're blessed by Chair Academy is the hardest 6 months of their whole lives, and a lot don't make it.
Oh yeah, the success rate is not good, but however, it's proven that it's way more successful for former chairs. And I have seen chairs, whether they have been members or not, that just have a knack or have great contacts, and man, within months they're up and running and doing great. But they are the rare exception.
Well, what do you think was I know that you mentioned doubling your business, which is certainly very significant, but there are relatively few chairs that were previously members. It does happen, but you guys are kind of a very tough minority in the community. What was the best gift that your Vistage membership gave you? What's the best part of being a member?
It changed my life. It changed my life. I was around people that cared about me on a monthly basis from all different walks of life and all different kinds of industries. And it was a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of caring.
That's great to hear. How did that inform? Because and you mentioned you weren't your chair, you were you. How do you think that experience informed the chair that you became?
100%. I became a mini Bob Duncan until I became Howard Alt as a chair. And definitely till this day, I do some things in very similar fashion as did Bob. Certainly I've changed other things that are completely different, but that was my foundation. So that's what I had to build on.
How would you characterize yourself as a chair today? How would you describe how you go about leading a meeting that you feel is sort of unique to you? What do you bring to it?
Well, on the one hand, I feel I'm powerful. Okay, it's my meeting. I'm respected as the facilitator. It's my group.
Yep.
And at the same time, I'm there with love. I mean, I give my all to all my members. All my members are committed to each other's success. It doesn't take long for a member to go deep. Many times it turns out to be a personal issue that's holding them back, and they don't hesitate to share. I've had 3 members join, and their first meeting they shared something in their personal lives that we were all definitely able to help them with. So I think what makes me unique is just the authenticity that I lead with, and the ability to accept when I'm wrong.
Okay. How often does that happen?
Oh, almost never. No. I mean, we'll be in a meeting, and I'll suggest we do something, let's say a certain way, and sometimes I'll get pushback, and 9 out of 10 times I go with what they said, not because necessarily, well, A, because I don't have to be right,
Right.
and B, just like they have to trust me, I have to trust them too.
Yeah, that's a really terrific insight. What was you've been doing this for 18 years now, and so I mean that's a hell of an achievement. And you've got a group that's old enough to vote. That's something worth celebrating. What's the most important lesson that you feel this experience of chairing these groups and spending a full career doing that? What has that taught you?
Without sounding too corny, it's taught me that I really like to help people, because I didn't come in to help people. I came in because I loved the process. So how cool would it be to go to work every day doing what you love? And then over time, it became very apparent that I don't just love the process, but I love the people, and I love helping those people in any way I can.
What have you um, what have you learned about? And this is something that I talk to chairs about frequently, and I know that um, chairs who are early on in their chairdom don't always know how to do this. How how do you go about creating and maintaining a culture in your group?
Well, the best way for any chair is to lead by example. So I've been in Vistage now for 26 years. I am not the person I was 26 years ago. The way I carry myself today is a complete 180. I mean, I've learned, and this could be a whole nother podcast, that I had to look good. I've had people say to me, "Howard, you have to look good." And I said, "Well, what's wrong with dressing nice?" So I'm thinking in my mind. And then I finally got it, where, I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want people to know that I had weaknesses. I didn't want them to know I'm human. Before I joined Vistage, I wanted my funeral to have 1,000 people, and everybody said, "Oh man, he was a good guy." And now I'd rather have 3 people show up and say, "He completely changed my life. I will never forget him as long as I live."
So the vulnerability has to go both ways.
Yeah.
That's that's absolutely a fantastic lesson to learn, and something that I imagine has really informed your whole practice. How, how,
100%.
how long did it take you to figure that out?
Well, I didn't figure it out as a Vistage member. That was
Right.
8 years. Um, I'm just going to tell you what happened quickly.
Sure.
I was asking there was a member who was asking me to come to an event during the week on a Tuesday night, and I didn't feel comfortable because I still I feel vulnerable, right? And so there was another member who also knew this person. So I'd say, hey, he's doing this Tuesday night. Can you come? And after about 3 times asking this member, brand new group, he said, well, I can never do Tuesday nights because I'm in this men's organization. And it's really cool. We got people who are janitors and people who are doctors and lawyers and all walks of life, and everybody's there to become better men. I said, geez, that sounds awesome. Can I come to a meeting? He goes, sure. So that was like Vistage for my personal life. And I was a member, it's called MDI. And I was a member for 5.5 years. And that, because of Vistage, I got into MDI and did Landmark Worldwide, which is an educational program, and other self-help programs, and so on and so forth. And that changed my life. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
I'd say it comes close enough. No, that was
And
terrific.
I would
Thank
say
you for
that happens to
sharing.
a lot of members where they receive something they never expected that they would receive out of membership. And it's not on any PDF. It's not on a sheet of paper. It's nothing you can read in a book. It's just the natural progression of people caring for each other, and what can, all ship rising to the top, but in different size ships and in different ways.
How do you go about? What are things that happen in the interaction between you and a potential member that tells you this is going to be a great contributor to the group, or this isn't the best fit? How do you because we choose each other, right? It's
Yeah.
not enough for the member to choose the chair. The chair also has to choose the member, and only then does it really work. So, what's your process for that?
Well, like most chairs, we do what Visage calls a selection interview for about an hour and a half. And that's where it gives me, and I assume most chairs, an opportunity to really understand the person who's in front of us, going through that process, which starts, just with surface level questions, and then we can bring them deeper and deeper and deeper. And if I see someone who is open, willing to share, not too guarded, is experienced in business, and knows that they don't know everything. And then at the end, I have to make sure that that they understand you're not joining just for you. And of course, you're joining for you, but you're not doing
Right.
just for you, because this is a give and take.
Your group is going to rely on you, and that's important.
No one of us is stronger than all of us, as we say in Vistage. And till this day, you never know what member is going to have the best advice for a given issue. And sometimes it's shocking.
We're going to be running out of time shortly, but before I'd like to ask you, um, if you can share, and if you can share without violating confidentiality, certainly. Over 18 years, what are some of like your favorite moments as a chair? What were the meetings or the issues or the things that happened? Give me a couple of them that really just stand out as being, man, this was remarkable, and this could have only happened here.
Well, one that comes to mind is a gentleman at a $2 million company and a manufacturing company, and he needed another $100,000 to invest into his business, and that was his issue. I need $100,000. I'm tapped out on all the lending I can get, and without spending this money, I'm not going to be able to move my business forward. And it turned out that the issue was his father, who started the company, and it looked nothing like what his father had started. He was really a beautiful leader and visionary, amazing visionary actually. But his father told him, when you take out money, you never put it back in the business. And that was the aha moment for him, because we made him realize that, yes, that was the way your father did things, but you have a choice. You can continue to work that way, or you can break that mold. And because he had plenty of money in the bank in his personal life.
Right.
And so we went slowly. We figured out what the most important investment was. We started with $20,000. A few months later, he's investing another $50,000. Now, today, he's a $10 million company and still growing.
Inertia's a heck of a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll give you one other example. I had a member, and I think this is where I'm very different. I don't look at the size of the company, and my companies range from $1 million to $100 million. I don't look at the size of the company. I look at the individual. So we had this kid, 27 years old. He's really good at websites and SEO and all that kind of marketing stuff, and had no business experience.
Right.
And he was doing an okay job. He was making a living to some extent, and he had about 5 employees. And I just saw this guy. I said, man, he's got knowledge that none of my other members have, because we didn't really have anyone in the technology space at the time. I mean, we're going back almost 10 years ago.
Sure.
So we didn't have AI and all the cool things we have today. And so I brought him in. His first meeting, one of my members gave him a $55,000 job to redo that member's website, and he killed it. And he comes to us at his 5-year anniversary, and he said, the most money I've ever made in 1 year before joining Vistage was $75,000 at the end of the year, net, before taxes. He said, I'm finishing up this year. I'm making $750,000.
Wow.
Net, after tax. So this guy does a 10x in 5 years, and the only thing that was holding him back is he had nowhere to go to learn business. He helped a lot of the members with marketing.
Sure.
And obviously we helped him as well, and he's still a member. And I'd like to say my longest member now, and longest tenure, is 16 years.
Wow.
Have a lot of tenure. And we do huge celebrations, and just signed 3 members in the last 3 months. So, there's always someone leaving. I think they say the average is about 2 people a year in terms of turnover. But,
sure.
It's been people stay because they're just getting crazy value.
Well, congrats and great job. That's obviously it's your members, but it's also you. You're doing a good job of guiding the ship, clearly. So, hey, if folks have questions for you, if they have questions about Vistage, about how to make a completely indestructible paper tube, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
They just go to my website, howard@howardalt.com.
Very cool.
Simple.
Well, thanks for being a great guest, Howard. I appreciate you.
Eric, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Chairwaves. You can subscribe to our feed using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your platform of choice. You can also visit chairwaves.com for more information. Chairwaves is hosted and produced by me, Eric Wolf, And to connect with me, you can visit my website at ewolf.live. That's EWOLF.live. And a disclaimer, while I love Vistage and CEO peer groups, this podcast is not owned by or affiliated with Vistage or any other peer organization. Thanks for listening.